Zoe Metcalfe, you've been the North Yorkshire Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner since November. Could you just give us a little bit of a kind of an overview of what's sort of been happening as far as the PFCC's offices in that time?
Well, there's been a huge amount that's been done since we came into post. Obviously had to go through quite an extensive induction programme. It's really important. We've produced 2 plans, so the police and crime plan and also the fire plans. We've also been part of the risk and resource modelling for the fire service, so that's creating a community risk profile and then launching into consultation, which we're in the middle of at the moment. We've just put together a VORG strategy, which is going to be released next week. And we've had put in place a new chief fire officer. So it's been a very busy time.
So coming back then to the crime plan, then that's kind of your sort of, that's a statutory obligation, isn't it? So something that needs to be done within a set number of days of office. Is that kind of your commitment then to the public? You ask the public, and then that's kind of your commitment to them, what you are looking at setting the priorities about. Is that correct?
Yeah, so what happens is you go out to consultation, which of course happened last year, pre-me, but we take those views because I'm really the voice of the public. So I need to put together and understand what the public want to see about how our police and our fire services run and take that into account and then create a plan. And I do it in conjunction with the Chief Fire Officer and the Chief Constable. And so it's a strategic document, it's like an umbrella document, and then underneath sit the 2 delivery plans. So for the crime plan, it's the police delivery plan, how they're going to implement it, and also the Office of the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner, their plan as well. And then for the fire plan, it's the same again, but the fire delivery plan will sit underneath it too. So they're strategic documents that set the course, the aspiration for the next 2-3 years.
Now, how do you manage the feedback? Because if you've been subject of a particular crime, you're going to be particularly pro, aren't you? That, you know, those areas being looked at on a crime plan. But so to someone, they might, what I mean is they might have a kind of a skewed perspective of what's really needed. How do you? I think what I'm trying to say is sometimes, if the police are the experts on all the crime stats, why ask the public what they want?
Well, it's really important to engage the public because, you know, they have to have a voice. And yes, I take your point, but that's why we work in conjunction with the police and the fire service as well. But it's we capture the views, the feeling in general of the public and what they want to see. The police service, so example, they want to see a more visible police service, more in their neighbourhoods and communities, which I think, you know, I completely stood on that manifesto. I'm very happy about that. So it's working with the Chief Constable to understand where in our neighbourhood policing that we can have more visible policing. So it all feeds in like that. Am I explaining that?
Yeah, I think so. So it's like a team effort coming together from different angles.
Although it's a strategic plan that sets the course for the next 2 to 3 years, it's also got to be delivered on. So there's no point in me and my team going, well, this is what we want from the public and this is what we think. Here you are. It's about actually the Chief Constable's got to be able to deliver it. So it's really important that we work in a really collaborative way. So I know it can be achieved because that's really important for the public.
And you mentioned there about when you were campaigning, I think it was kind of a theme really, wasn't it? I think it was safety of children and women. And I know you've spoken about this on meetings already, but I think there's already kind of work ongoing, isn't there, like involving IDAS. But is there any particular updates on that area? Yeah,
so obviously that was a key priority, wasn't it, in my manifesto? And to be fair, I think all the candidates very much were focusing in on that. That's because it is an issue in our society, nationally and also locally. So as soon as we kind of got into role, it was very clear that we had to do a police and fire plan, and within that there is violence against women and girls, pepper potted all the way through it. But that I really wanted a separate strategy to address and and give it the shine the light on it that it really needs. So we've got that coming out next week. And there's also a statement of intent, like what if you were, if you're if you are a woman or a girl in North Yorkshire and what do you expect to see? What do you expect to be delivered? And that's really important. Because at the end of the day, I want everybody to be safe, not just women and girls, but there is a clear focus on it.
And just to be clear, we're sort of talking about, I think this is something that maybe people don't understand, is it's not just the Commissioner, there's a whole team of people behind you, isn't there,
right.
that work on this.
Yeah.
And do you have a lead for that area then, or is that something that
Yes, I do.
work?
Yes, I do. So this is a really interesting point, actually, because I don't think the public out there really realise what goes on behind the scenes. And I'm very keen that the role of the office and the team behind the Commissioner is highlighted in all the fantastic work and the great professionals that I work with. So yes, there is. And I was just writing down, actually, who is in the team, what does it consist of? And, it's things like we have a whole commissioning victim services. We co-deliver and co-commission, but we also do a lot of it in-house as well. We have, core functions like business governance. We do all the complaints and recognition for the fire service and the police service as well. We have a massive victims portfolio, which is Jenny Newbury, who leads on that. But you're right, when we're creating plans and creating strategies, there's a whole team of policy and scrutiny officers who sit behind me that help contribute to it and form it.
And I think it's fair to say, I think in the past, the media's got obsessed with the bottom line costs rather than value for money.
Mm.
And I think some of that is down to maybe just not understanding, what the public is getting for that, for that figure.
Yeah.
And we've talked in the past about the previous system of the police authority, and that was a very different, a different beast, I think, to what the Crime Commissioner's office now is, and I think the two are possibly unfairly compared.
Yeah, I think you're right there, and I think if we take victims services, commission services, we deliver over £5 million worth of commission services. Because I do get that challenge back to me from members of the public or colleagues saying, you've got so many people that work for you, what do they do, and this, that and the other. And I don't think they realise the extent of the team that we have and what we deliver, the scrutiny and the policy and the scrutiny that takes place. So I think that's one area. I've been really keen to be able to shine a light on the whole team and raise the profile, and there'll be a better understanding about what I do as Commissioner, but also what the team does as well, and how they feed into both the fire and the police service, and how far-reaching we are.
I'd like to come back to that on another occasion, because I would love to do that too.
Yeah.
But if I can move on to some other sort of questions. One area that particularly interests is the amount of time that is spent by officers on really mental health related call-outs. And the police are, I think people use this phrase, don't they? They're the kind of the backstop service, so they're the ones that can't just walk away. And whether that's fair, the sort of the amount or the percentage of call-outs that are related to mental health, I know is significant.
Yeah.
But also whether other services are taking advantage of that position that you do have to stay, with vulnerable people.
Yeah, so unfortunately we are in this position, aren't we, that nationally 1 in 3 call-outs of police resource time is for mental health. And I think there is an argument that there are gaps in provision in the community for mental health services. I think I'm doing a piece of work at the moment in our force control room to understand, our call data, why people are ringing in and that sort of thing. So we can go to our health partners and have those conversations. But I have to say, it's not just one service that can actually solve this. It's about coming together and working collaboratively, about everybody playing their part. And I think really, I really want to push that agenda forward and have those conversations with our health partners, our social care partners as well, because I think certainly in North Yorkshire, and to be fair, I think it's representative across the UK, that actually, you know, it needs to be recognised how much time it's taken up police resources.
And that collaborative approach, you can see it in a different way in Ripon. So they've got the community alcohol partnership.
Yes.
That's only been running for a relatively short time. That's showing a lot of good working and groups really working together.
Yeah, and actually, I would say that in North Yorkshire we have a really close partnership working landscape. In fact, that's been one of my reflections coming into role, actually. I mean, although I was a councillor before, I was never really that involved with that side of things. But it's really fantastic to see, and I don't see it replicated everywhere either. We're really lucky that we're able to collaboratively work together as partners, and that is for the benefit of North Yorkshire and York, isn't it?
And coming on to a little bit of a negative now then. So in April time, I think it was, Her Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary looked at the child protection of North Yorkshire, and it found some sort of fairly significant problems. I think North Yorkshire Police had said that some of them they were already looking at and were aware of.
Yeah.
What's been the impact of that then on what the PFCC's office and the police are doing? I know you held an accountability meeting.
That's right, we did. I felt it was really important to have a special public accountability meeting so it could demonstrate the transparency that North Yorkshire Police were happy to do about on this subject and about what we were going to do, because it's the bit about the trust and confidence in the police, isn't it? So North Yorkshire were very much embracing that. Me, myself and my team were very much involved in what they call the gold and the silver meetings, where they discuss what they're going to do, the action plans, that sort of thing. I've been really impressed actually with North Yorkshire Police, how they've taken hold of it very quickly, got on top of it and implemented an awful lot of things straight away, which is really good. And as you can imagine, it's a real focus for me going forward. So I do have another public accountability in July. So I asked them that they come back in July and give us a progress update. And that's important that we do that in public, so the public and the residents can tune in and can see the progress to date in July.
And I think that very much highlights the bringing the police to account side to the PFCC's role, doesn't it, really?
It is,
and is that a difficult task at times? Because some of these areas are very kind of complex, aren't they? Child protection and violence towards, women and girls. It's as you say, it's not just that's what happens, it's obviously a lot of interrelated things, if you like, going on. So is that a difficult thing to bring the police to account on and to actually look at what they're doing?
No, it's not, because I would say we're really lucky in North Yorkshire. We have a very inclusive Chief Constable that is very happy and embraces the office, and also my role as Commissioner. She's very open and we work really well and collegiately together in both offices. So I say it's a really good working relationship, and I think it's how you communicate, isn't it? And we all have different styles, don't you? But for me, it is all about building that relationship up with both the chiefs and been able to talk about, you need to be in a space. We were able to have a really constructive conversation about big ticket items that are emotional, that pull on the heartstrings or that need accountability on. And I feel I really do have that relationship with both chiefs now. And it's testament to them, as well as the team and the senior leadership teams, that we've all worked really hard together to create that. So I feel very confident in the fact that we can have those conversations and move things and be able to work really collegiately together to move things forward for the better.
And now, just turning to the fire service, at the minute there's a public consultation that's looking at new ways of working, and it's sort of based around you know, it's not just sort of looking at the number of blue lights, you know, running out of Harrogate Police Station, and it's done some sort of sophisticated modelling, looking at what, you know, where the resources need to go and what resources are needed. And you want the public to get involved and comment on that.
Yes, yeah.
Although it's quite a complex area, isn't it, really, to understand?
It is. So how have I gone about this? Because I thought it was really important that actually it just wasn't a weighty document, that we had plenty of public engagement. So in one way to bring it to life a little bit, I did do a video online which we've pushed out over social media, and it's also part of the consultation events that we've got across the county, which we're doing well actually, how many are we doing, Simon?
I think there's about 12
of them over the summer, over the next 12 weeks. And that's helpful. I think that's been really well received, because I just wanted to bring a plan to life a little bit. And I think that's worked very well. But yes, we really do want to get people to engage in this consultation. It's an important one. It's a big deal for the service. You know, it's looking very much about their risk resourcing model. You're right. It's not just about blue lights. It's about prevention. It's about investment into our on-call, retained firefighters, which is so really important, especially as though we have such a massive geographical area to cover. I mean, I'm really pleased to see that out of these proposals there's no fire stations that are going to be closed, and there's no current firefighters will lose their jobs, and I'm really pleased about that. But it's about investment into prevention. Now, that came through an awful lot, like the public want and asks in the consultation for the plans last year. But it's also right. You know, we have to do it as a matter of course. We have to sit down and decide, actually, are our resources in the right place? Where is our risk? And that's where the community risk profile came in. And from that, the information is lifted and put into the resource model. And that's, as I say, we're out consulting on at the moment.
And just talking more generally, as you know, this is something that gets mentioned about, it's a political role. And as I mentioned before we started, I did my homework, and there's the oath of impartiality, which in a way makes it, and it can't be a political role. And is that's something that you sign up to or swear to, I think, isn't it? Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, yes, it is. It's a bit of a conflict there, isn't it? Yes, it is a political role. However, as soon as you start, you know, you sign on the dotted line, you represent everybody in North Yorkshire and York, irrespective of their political colour. You know, it's all about representing everybody. Yeah. And it's a role that I take very seriously as well.
So we just sort of, again, changing the sort of tact a little bit, talking about technology, and this has sort of come with, you know, things like ANPR and use of mobile devices. Is there a particular strategy for North Yorkshire? I think a few years ago, going to a launch event for new tablets that were potentially going to have ANPR functionality on them and fingerprint technology. There is sometimes a little bit of a trend that things get mentioned and then never quite land, possibly for technical reasons. But is that an area that you get involved with, or is that more of a delivery area for the police?
It's more of a delivery area, an operational area for the police. But what I will say is that, you know, we're living in a very agile world, aren't we now? And I think it's really important that the police are resourced and meet the needs of what they need to do to facilitate their jobs. So anything like that is really important. But we'd have to ask more from the Chief Constable about the direction of travel. Yeah. But certainly I'll always make sure that they have everything, you know, I'll try to make sure they are funded so they have everything they need to do their jobs correctly and fully. And
sometimes people's perception of the police is just wrong. And you know, I think we've all gone on to Facebook and you've seen comments about the police or a school, heaven forbid, even a journalist at times. And I think it can be sort of frustrating. But I think there's a double-edged sword here, because if the police spend a lot of time on their own PR, if you like, then they get criticised at the end, don't they, for actually just running a PR department. But is that an area of focus then for the PFCC's office? We've spoke about that. I think it's in everyone's benefit that they understand what they're getting for their money and what you are doing with the police.
Yeah.
But is there a bigger thing there?
For me, it's all about trust and confidence in the police, and I think that the residents they don't feel like they see enough police visibly out and about, and that's the thing. And I understand that, I really do. And so for me, it's building asking the police to really get out there, build those relationships, isn't it, with the public. And it's the whole thing around trust and confidence. And a lot of that, as I say, is to do with visibility. Yeah.
And on the visibility, is that also visibility online? Because obviously there's, issues around the content that people look at online. There's a whole range of things with the risk, and this is an area that seems to be talked about much less, is online safety of young people. 5 years ago that seemed to be a big thing. And I don't for 1 minute believe that it's been sort of worked through. And also the risk to elderly people.
Yes.
This is an area that does bother me. How I think there's this sort of dignity thing. I think there's a lot of older people rather, being, conned out of money or in whatever means. And it's not being sort of tackled, but it's a very difficult area. Say in a family, if you've got a relative that you're concerned about, to broach the topic and essentially say, I think you're going to, we're worried you're going to get ripped off, I think it's a hugely difficult area.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I suppose looking forward over the next few years, unfortunately, it's projected to increase even further. So that is one of my focus priorities. It's on my list that I'm going to get to, and I think it's a really important area. Cyberbullying, online safety. I don't know about you, it feels like it's gone quiet again. There was a big thing about it a few years ago for children. It's gone a bit quiet, but actually it's so important. Fraud, cyber fraud. I want to be focusing in on the business community as well and supporting them going forward. I feel that's an area that hasn't been given enough attention over the years. And that's really important too. So certainly we'll be swinging my spotlight to that very soon when we get through the summer and the consultation.
Just talking about, obviously a big area of cost is the estates and police stations, like Ripon for instance, is that moved in with the fire service, and then I think there were plans initially to build a modular police station, but now I think there's other plans coming together. Is there a strategy coming together around where you need your police stations, and also like custody suites have also greatly reduced? And I think this is where, as a member of the public, you sort of struggle to really understand the cost. So you can't, you look at someone that gets arrested, say in Skipton, and they have to come to Harrogate to get booked in, and you think, well, that traffic officer would have been better staying out on patrol and arresting more people or doing more prevention work. Is that an area that you're looking at as well?
Yeah, so one of the first things I asked North Yorkshire Police and also the fire service was to do commission an estate strategy, because they're very focused in on sharing of estate. I think it's really important. We've got a lot of buildings that we could share more of, so they're just working through that now. Certainly, absolutely. In Ripon, the police moved into the fire building, which needs upgrading, and so there are plans which we are very quickly going to press go on, because when I went to visit, it's not the right environment. It does, but we need to get on with it, don't we, to make it work. And very much a big focus on sharing of estates going forward.
And does that then lead to sort of work, if you like, integrating the fire service or the back office facilities, if you like, with the fire service and the police where appropriate?
Yeah, so at the moment we already have Enable, which shares back office functions as much as they can do. For example, HR, finance, that sort of thing. And that's worked very well. I think that's going into the next chapter. It was embedded. We're looking at it again, and it might change a little bit, but it's going to be right for the next, the next chapter of its life. So we're already doing that, but I think there's a lot more opportunities for sharing of estates going forward.
And just to finish up then, what can we expect to see then over the next couple of weeks or the next 6 months then from the Commissioner's office?
Well, we've done an awful lot already, but next week I'm very excited to be launching my VOG strategy, so that's violence against women and girls. Really excited about that. We're going to finish the consultation for the risk resource proposals, which will conclude mid-August. So that's a big thing for the service, as I mentioned before. I'm going to be shining a light on, as I say, cybercrime, fraud, those sort of things in the business community in North Yorkshire and York. For me, it's about making more connections, making those relationships and making them a lot stronger. I was really lucky being a county councillor before I'm councillor. I have a lot of relationships already across the whole of the county. But it's seeing where I can add value to, which is really important. So there's a lot happening and I'm really excited about it.
Zoe Metcalfe, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.